All right, we move on to our final session for the day, and it involves martial arts, Shaolin, How to Win Without Fighting by Bernhard Moestl. Bernhard is an international best-selling author, business mentor, photographer, and adventurer. He's been traveling the world for more than 35 years, and having been fascinated by martial arts since his youth, he took the chance and resided with the legendary fighting monks of Shaolin in China. There he studied the art of Kung Fu and gained deep insights into the philosophy behind it. Until today, his books, which deal with topics like self-awareness, mindfulness, self-improvement, and leadership, are strongly influenced by that Asian way of thinking. Please put your hands together and welcome Bernhard Moestl for our final session. Thank you.
If I should describe you the feeling I have, you know, when you drive a car and you go against the sunset, that's what I see. I don't see you, but I hope you see me. Just for the beginning, I think it was 10 years ago, I had a book presentation in Vienna. And the presentation lasted about an hour. And after that, a lady came to me. And she said, now that I listened to this presentation, I know everything, so why should I read a book? And I said, I had only 1 hour and the book has 300 pages. It was another book. The book has 300 pages, so I didn't talk about everything I wrote in this book. And the lady said, okay, so it was a bad presentation. Just to forewarn you, I'm not really going to talk about the book. I want you to read it. But I am, of course, I am talking about Shaolin. I will talk about the power of mind. And I will talk about the principles I learned when staying in China and with the masters of Shaolin. Today in the afternoon, I had an interesting talk to someone who said, okay, I did not know that Shaolin is a real location. I always thought it's a magic place or something like this. And I said, no, Shaolin, since 1,500 years, has been a real location. It's in China, it's in the holy mountains of Songshan, in the middle between Hong Kong and Beijing. Maybe you heard about the city of Changzhou, where Apple produces the iPhone. And so maybe now you ask yourself, what is the connection between a Chinese monastery and India? It's not only me, it's much more. Because if there were not India, 3 very important ingredients would be missing for what is Shaolin today, what is the monastery of Shaolin. First of all, Lord Buddha. I don't need to tell you that Buddha, he was Indian, he was born in India, even if today it's Nepal, in the city of Lumbini. And he was the guy who thought about suffering. And Buddha, he influenced another guy who was not from the north of India, but from the very south, a guy called Bodhidharma. And Bodhidharma, he was influenced by Buddha's teachings. He was in the south of India, and he was not only a monk and a Buddhist monk, but he also knew the martial arts of Karalipayat that originated, like everything in the world, in India, in Kerala. So this Buddhist monk, knowing martial arts, set off to China to bring Buddhism there. And when he arrived in China, he saw, to his surprise, he observed that Buddhism was already there and everybody knew Buddhism and there were even monasteries. So he came to the city of Luoyang, that by that time happened to be the capital of China, and he went to the emperor, and the emperor said, it's okay, there is a monastery in the mountains and this monastery is alone, so there is nobody there, there is no abbot. And Bodhidharma would go to this monastery. And as this monastery was built on a place with a very young wood, the monks had given the place the name Shaolin. Shao in Chinese language means young, and Lin, which is the character with the 2 trees, means wood. So the young wood, or Shaolin, would become the new home of Bodhidharma, who wasn't enlightened by then. And seeking enlightenment, the story goes that he stayed in a cave for 9 years. 9 years without any movement, without any martial arts, without nothing. So after 9 years, he was barely able to move, so he was enlightened, but a bit stiff. after sitting 9 years in the cave. And so when he came back down to the monastery, he decided to teach the monks martial arts. And he started to combine his new created philosophy. The philosophy he created was the philosophy of Zen. The Chinese people called it Chan, but then it went to Japan, and Japanese people were better in marketing than Chinese. It happens rarely, but sometimes it happens. So nowadays nobody knows about Chan, but everybody knows about Zen, but it is the same. It is what Bodhidharma created in the monastery of Shaolin. So actually, Bodhidharma found out that martial arts, that the idea of becoming that good, such a good fighter, that one day you do not have to fight anymore to win, and philosophy and the philosophy of enlightenment, that it fits pretty well. So the monastery of Shaolin, just to give you an idea, 1,500 years ago, was founded with this idea. And the monks of Shaolin, they became really, really, really good fighters. They probably were one of the best fighters that ever existed. They influenced all the other martial arts like karate and whatever we have today. But they never ever did it for fighting, because their idea was not to fight. Their idea was to become that strong that simply nobody would have the idea to fight. Just to give you an idea how this could happen or how this could work, you heard about Mike Tyson, the famous boxer? Who knows Mike Tyson? Okay. Who wants to fight Mike Tyson? Now you know what it means to win without fighting and why there is no reason. We have no idea whether Mike Tyson is a good fighter or not. But you do not want to know it, because he might be. So actually, the idea of Shaolin is not about physical fighting. The opposite. The idea of Shaolin is to become such a good fighter, such a strong character, that any opponent would say, okay, I don't want to know it. I simply don't want to know it. I will leave him or her alone. So how did they do it? The first thing that Bodhidharma understood was that power, all power, comes from the inside. There is no way to give power from the outside, even if many, many people believe it. You cannot give power to anyone from the outside. If this would be possible, we could keep a person, we could keep an animal, we could keep a flower in life for eternity, but we cannot. If whatever creature doesn't have the power to live anymore, it will die, and there is nothing we can do against it. So all the power that brings you forward, but the power that destroys you, all the power comes from the inside. That means if you want to change anything, you need to change your inner power, because it's never your opponent who hurts you. It's never your opponent who does whatever with you. It's always your inner power that goes against you. So the monks of Shaolin, they realized that the only person you need to work with to become invincible, to win without fighting, is yourself. Because there is something else. It's not only the fact that you are the best fighter in the world. Usually when I hold this speech, I have a picture in my bag. As there is no projector, I would like you to imagine this picture. And the picture is an elephant, a huge elephant. Everybody here knows what an elephant is, how huge this elephant, how strong these animals are. And this elephant is on his knees, or on its knees. And the picture is a male elephant. And beside him there is a very small lady. I think she's from Thailand, but that doesn't matter. A very small, thin lady. And the elephant is on his knees. And this picture, when I saw it for the first time, it gave me an idea what the meaning of consciousness is. The elephant is probably one of the strongest animals in the world. I think it's the strongest animal. And you probably know that even tigers are afraid of elephants. But this super strong elephant, he's on his knees because of a small lady. But why? Because in that very moment, the elephant is not conscious of the power he has. So all the power the elephant has is useless, it's worthless, because the elephant is not conscious of it. That means you may be the strongest person in the world, you may be the best fighter in the world, you may be whatever, you may be invincible. The moment you do not know it, all the power you have, all the possibilities, all the talents, everything you have is lost. This is a literature festival here, and I came here as a writer too. Just would like to tell you a personal story. People always ask me, did you always want to become a writer? Was this always your dream? And they are always very astonished by my answer when I say no. There was one thing I excluded from my life, to write a book. So now you might ask yourself, why? Just because I love to write. I love to text, whatever, but I made texts this long, and it took me half an hour. So I calculated this 150 times. That means this book would be ready after 30 years. So I excluded it. Why did I become a writer? Because a publisher found me, a German publisher, and they came to me and they said, we want you to write a book about Shaolin. I said, okay, I will write a book about Shaolin. Why not? Actually, the first interesting thing by then was that my later editor, she didn't know me, her first question was, what is your profession? And I said, I'm a photographer. That is my profession. I studied photography. And I could really see her disappointment in her face. She didn't say anything, but she was disappointed. And I say, okay, is there anything wrong with being a photographer? No, nothing is wrong, but usually our writers are journalists or writers or whatever. It's okay. After a while, they told me that another book that was similar to mine, or similar to the book they wanted me to write, had reached 10,000 copies. And she told me, the same person who was disappointed with me being a photographer, she said, okay, should your book once reach 10,000 copies, your book will never reach 10,000 copies, so she encouraged me from the beginning. But should this book reach 10,000 copies, you will have a second edition and stuff like this. Just to give you an idea, Shaolin, only the German edition, only the pocket edition, is in the 37th edition, and it sold almost 1 million copies. Anyway, what I want to tell you is, she was not able to discourage me because I had no expectations. When I do, whatever I do, I try to do it the best way possible, and then I see the outcome. But many other people would have said, oh, wow, I mean, if there is only a very, very small chance that I even will sell 10,000 books. Later I learned that usually even famous writers, they start with 4,000 or 5,000, but by then I did not know that. Anyway, so everything starts, begins, and ends with your internal power. By then I had no receptor for that, so she could not, once again, she could not hurt me with that. But I learned that people can make me strong or they can make me weak if they attack me exactly with my power. I just want to show you how far imagination goes. I will show you something in the end. And I would like you just to imagine something, to not do it, to not move, to not do anything physically, just imagine. And I would like you to imagine that you get up, don't get up, stay seated. You get up and that you turn your right arm to the outside, okay, like this. Just imagine that. And now please imagine that you turn your right foot to the inside at the same time, okay? The arm goes outside and at the same time the foot goes to the inside. I cannot do it, otherwise I would show you. Please try to imagine whether you can do it or not. Some of you will be able, some of you will be like me, they will not be able, it's no problem. But the moment you know whether you can imagine it, I would like you to really get up and to try it. So just to give it a try, whether you can turn your right arm to the outside and at the same time your right foot to the inside. Just get up and do it. And I say that those who could not imagine it cannot do it. Those who could imagine it, they can do it. Is there anybody who could imagine it and couldn't do it? Or Inverse? Okay, thank you. I have one more for you at the end. What I want to tell you is, if we cannot imagine something, we cannot do it. So if there is any change, and we want to do some change, if there is any goal we want to reach, and we say, no, we cannot reach it, we don't feel well with a change, whatever, don't even try. You have no chance to reach that goal. First, you need to clear your mind. You need to feel yourself well in a changed situation. Otherwise, it will not work out. I remember I was in India when I decided to give up on smoking. And the problem was, I could imagine not to smoke everywhere. But there was one place, one particular place, I could not imagine not to smoke. It was in the Viennese coffee shops. I'm from Vienna, from Austria. So we have coffee shops, like you have coffee shops. And in the coffee shops, everybody would sit and smoke, having a coffee, reading newspapers, and smoking. So I gave up on smoking officially. But there was the problem with the coffee shop that remained. And my girlfriend, she didn't know, but then that because of the coffee shop, I restarted smoking. And then we would go to Asia for 1 year. And 1 year, I did not touch a single cigarette. I had no problem with not smoking, only this coffee shop problem that lasted. So after a year of not smoking, we came back, and I always had this in my mind. When I will come back to Vienna, I will do that. After a whole year, we came back to Vienna. I went to the coffee shop, sat down, and what do you think was the first action I did? Excuse me, would you have a cigarette for me? So after a whole year of not smoking, I started smoking again. Till I cleared it out in my mind, and I felt well. I saw myself sitting in the coffee shop, reading the newspaper, drinking the coffee, and not smoking. From one day to the other, I gave up on smoking. So whatever you want to change, whatever you want to reach, whatever goal you want to reach, the most powerful possibility to not reach a goal, let's say it like this, is to block yourself in your mind. And you can try it yourself, not now, but at home or tomorrow morning or whenever you feel like this. Just try to make push-ups, you know, push-ups, those ugly ones, yeah? And say, I want to do 10 push-ups. Only 10. Believe me, even if you would be able to do 20, 30, 50, 100, after 8 push-ups, it will start getting heavy, and you will do 9 and number 10. You will not be able to do more push-ups than you program in your mind. This works the opposite way too. Just say, I want to do 100. Be sure you will not do 100, but you will not limit yourself with that. Those limiting thoughts can be felt in your body. So once again, whatever you want to change, it is the most important thing is that you feel it, that you feel well with the changed situation. When I talk about the power of mind, there is one more thing that the monks of Shaolin discovered. There is this thing called reality. I'm not going to make a philosophical speech here, but people usually say and would think that they decide based on facts, isn't it? When you make a decision, you make this decision based on some fact. But I want to tell you that you never do that. You always make decisions based on what you think that facts are. Would you always act on the basis of facts? There would not be something like a misunderstanding that would be excluded. So I say something to you, and you understand me wrong. You understand something else, for whatever reason. For acoustic reasons, for language, it doesn't mind. And you say, hey, how can he say that? So what's that? And you get angry or whatever. But I didn't say that. I said something else. Only you understood it. So your reality is different from my reality because I said something else. And all your actions will be based on what you heard and not on what you said. And that is a very important fact. Because the moment we realize that we always make decisions on what we think that facts are, and that our reality is the reality that is created in our heads, that means our heads, our brain, our minds are the place to change it. And we can have any reality we want. And we can change the reality. And let's say that somebody says something bad to me or calls me an idiot or whatever, I can say I didn't hear it. And if I wouldn't hear it, or he talked to me in Hindi or in Marathi or whatever language I do not understand, it doesn't disturb me. I have no problem with that. Many, many times in India, I'm sure I made some mistake, but not only in India, but also in India, people cried after me angrily. And the only thing I could do was to laugh because I had no idea what they wanted. So I made something wrong, probably, and very angry and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I said, sorry, I have no idea what you want from me. If this person would have spoken, let's say in English, or in German language, or in any language I understand, I would have reacted, of course. What I want to tell you is, the moment you say, I need to fight because somebody attacks me, saying, I don't know what, because I cannot leave that way, I need to correct it, I need to fight back, whatever, it has nothing to do with the fact that somebody says something disturbing to you. It is only the fact that you understand it. If you would not understand it, you would have no problem. And now, once again, the idea of consciousness. Consciousness is a tool for change. We have the wonderful possibility to think about our thoughts. So if I have an opinion, I can ask myself, why do I have this opinion? Where does this opinion come from? And then I can change it. Let's say a tiger, who is for me the most fascinating animal that lives in this world. But a tiger who wants to become vegetarian, the tiger cannot become vegetarian. The moment I offer it meat, the tiger will eat it. Me as a human being, I have this kind of consciousness that allows me to change my behavior, that allows me to change my way of thinking, that allows me to anything, to change everything. So this power of mind is, I always say, consciousness is a tool for change. We can use it, we can change our way of thinking. And when it comes to the way of thinking, just to give you an idea, I talked about the talents, I talked about the strengths, I talked about the elephant. And there is this word, the mindset. And yesterday, in the evening at the airport, I once got a lesson on what is mindset. I arrived from Pune Litfest, and I arrived here at the airport. And for some reason, I was sure there should be an information stand or whatever, because I had no idea where to go. I knew the hotel, okay. And I didn't get a message. Anyway, so people were waiting there for others with papers, written the names, whatever. I didn't even look for my name because I did not assume somebody to stay there with my name in his hands. And it was Irene, my partner. I said, hey, here is your name written. My mindset was nobody is there. So I wouldn't even look after somebody. And it's always the moment we are sure that something will not happen, it can happen 1,000 times. If our mindset is, we cannot do it, we will not succeed, we will not, because we will not see the opportunities. So I gladly arrived at the hotel and everything was perfect. But I thought to myself, wow, that's interesting. I was so fixed on something that needs to happen in a certain way, I did not recognize it the moment it happened another way. In the Shaolin book, in my book Shaolin, I called it the principle of occasion. He who takes the occasions passing by, he doesn't need lucky dreams, is what Chinese people say, and what became a kind of my motto of life. So there is one last thing. People always ask me, is your topic this so-called positive thinking? And I say, yes, it is positive thinking, because for me, positive thinking is the only way we can think if we want to become successful, if we want to win without fighting. But I'm not a big friend, to not say I'm a big opponent to the idea to see something good in everything bad. So people say, so what's that? I mean, either you are a friend of positive thinking, or you do not like to see always the bright side of life. So let's start it like this. Why don't I like to see always the bright side of things? Because that doesn't make your things change. It prevents change. Let's say that I destroy my trousers and I have a hole here, a big hole. So somebody is thinking positive the way most people would say that positive thinking is, would say, okay, but now these are very special trousers. I'm the only one who has this hole in these trousers. And I will never repair it. I will never change my trousers. Everything will remain in a bad way because it's not a good idea to have trousers that have a hole in them. The word positive, and this is where the problem starts. Positive or positivity has nothing to do with good or bad. The word positive comes from Latin language. Latin language is something like Sanskrit language for Indians, a language that hasn't been spoken, I think, for 500 or 1,000 years. And positive is the perfect tense of ponere. Ponere, or positive in English language, will be translated with put. If I put something on the table, the Latin-speaking guy would say positus est. It is put on the table. So positive thinking means a creative way of thinking. It means I know what I want. It has nothing to do with judging. It has nothing to do with good. It has nothing to do with bad. Positive means you know what you want. Negative means you know what you don't want. So most people think negative. They know what they don't want. Just to give you an idea what positive and negative thinking means, just an example. Just imagine two guys entering a restaurant here in Bangalore. One is positive thinking and one thinks negatively. So the first one, the positive thinking guy, is asked by the waiter or by the restaurant owner, so what do you want? And he says, yeah, I would like some idli and the samba sauce, but if possible, put some extra spices in it. And then I would like this, I don't know how you call it, chapata. Okay, yeah, of course, chapata. But it should not be that hard, so please don't leave it that long in the oven. And for drinking, I would like a lassi, the sweet lassi, but with very few sugar. Okay, now comes the negative thinking guy, and the owner says, okay, what do you want? Oh, I have no idea, what do you have? And the owner goes to the kitchen and says, oh, I see there is some rice left from yesterday that should be eaten. No, I hate rice, sorry. Okay, then there is chapati, the other guy, the positive guy, left. No, I don't want chapati. No, not at all. And then we have something sweet. No, that's too sweet for me. I don't want it. What will the negative thinking guy get? Nothing. It's that easy. But did you observe something else? The negative thinking guy, he had to choose from what the positive thinking guy produced for him. And of course, the positive thinking guy, so who is the owner, he produced and he said, okay, those are the possibilities. The negative thinking guy said, no. But what were the possibilities the owner gave to him? The rest. That what remained, that what needs to be eaten, whatever. So the moment you start to be a negative thinking person, you have to choose from and you have to accept the solutions people who think positively give you. So whenever you want to change, whatever in your life, I have many coachees and I ask them, okay, so what's going on? Yeah, I'm so unhappy with my life. I say, okay, how does your dream life look like? Oh, I have no idea, that's why I'm here. Okay. Thinking positively means to know what we want, to be the change you want to see for the world, to quote Mahatma Gandhi, and it means to use the power of mind in our favor and not against us. I read time's up, but you give me 5 more minutes, please, because I want you to show something at the end. I just want you to show what the power of your mind can do. I would like you to get up, please, and very gently to do it like this, so that we do not need a dentist, yeah? But you need space around you to do it like this. Okay, I don't hear anybody crying or screaming, it's okay. Perfect. Okay. Now imagine that your legs, they are in concrete, so you cannot move your legs. They are fixed on to the ground. Raise your right hand and now turn to your back as far as you can. You will reach a point, fix it and remember it, and now go back to the front. Okay? Arm down. And now you were very good on that at the beginning. Let's do it once again. You just imagine. You do not do anything with your arms. You just do it in your mind, okay? And I would like you to imagine that you raise your arm like this. No, don't do it. Only in your mind. I see everything. And now you imagine your arms like this. You turn your body to the back, your arm to the back. You reach the point you reached before, that was the limit, and now you go over this limit. And now you go back, you reach the limit point, you have your arm like this, and you let it down. And now I would ask you to do it once again in reality. Raise your arm, and now look how far it goes now. Anybody is going further? Perfect. You may sit down. It's only my last words. What I wanted to show you, what I wanted to tell you is that winning without fighting starts in your head. It starts in your mind. It starts with your mindset. It starts with your thoughts. Nobody can help you with this because it's in your mind. It's in your brain. You can use the power of your mind for helping you, for bringing you further, or you can use it for blocking you. As Buddha said once, the mind is everything. You are and you become what you think. Thanks for listening.